Hi everyone. I needed to do this video right now. I wanted to share with you what's been going on for the last week. I've been off work since November 1st, and it's been really a ride within myself. Oh, it's snowing outside right now. It's so beautiful. And it was really challenging in a way that old stories would come up in my head, right? And from the past, with friends that I see again or friends that I don't see anymore, old boyfriends or my parents, my family. So stuff coming up, right? And I was really wondering, how come is my thinking this? Because for me, it's like in the past, right? And I was watching Lori Ladd. I love her. And I was watching her live yesterday night, and she explained so well what was going on right now. And I could definitely see the pattern that I'm living. And when you don't know what's going on in the energies and frequencies and everything, I I don't even imagine how it could be hard for anyone to see that things are popping up and they're wondering how come they're still living the same stuff, right? Over and over and over again. And there's this thing with my dad that I've been living for a while, and I'm 45 years old. And I remember like 15 years ago, my dad and my mom are married happily, but I was the last kid to be born in the family. And I have like 9 years separation from my sister, 6 years from my brother. So I was alone at home with my parents very soon. I was 9 years old because my sister was pregnant with her first child at 16. So I was brought up a bit like a single child, right? And since my parents had the other kids before me, and they really committed their life to their children before me, when I was brought up, I wasn't brought up the same because my parents wanted to finally take care of their couple and be free of doing social stuff like sports and skiing and everything. So they brought me with them most of the time, or I would get babysit at my cousin's place, which was fine. I mean, I had lots of fun over there and everything. But I remember that my dad and my mom would bring me, would actually have me start like dancing lessons, drawing lessons, paint lessons, ballet lessons in September. And I would never finally get to the show at the end of the year because in January, I would never go back because of my parents going skiing. So this has been an issue really coming back often in my life because every time I watch a dancing show or a singing show or I sing in a karaoke, I get really teared up because it really resonates with a part of me that would have loved to experience that in the most profound way, right? So with my dad, like I said, I wrote a letter to him like 15 years ago telling him that I would love to go on a walk or go have a beer and get to know each other just as a person, you know. And he never responded. So we've been steadily like enjoying our family since then. And but now that I've had like 40 years old and I have my son who is 8 now, I have come up with it made some stuff come up about parenting and how we see the commitments we do with our children. And I understand what they were at that time, and I basically put that on their fault that I was like I was today, like missing a lot of love. I've always out for love all my life. I wanted a partner really soon in my life, and didn't end up that way. I had a lot of difficult relationship with men in my life, and I was really hurting from what my dad didn't see in me. And every time we see each other, it's always the same speech. He is 81 right now, so he was born like in 1938. So I have to acknowledge that, of course, the way of thinking, the mindset isn't the same, even if he's open to a lot of stuff, right? But I have to acknowledge that it's not the same for him. Even if I speak, for me, it's clear what I'm saying, but for him, he doesn't know that. And I don't think it even interested him. And that's what disappointed me, because I had like an impression that I wasn't important to him, and that he just wanted me to shut up every time I was talking about my stuff or things about spiritual world or my beliefs, my faith and everything. And for me, that's something that's really important. So it was very hard to have a conversation where he would just listen. And I've been on that journey like for about, I'm 45, so like 5 years, that I even stopped talking to him. And I got so mad last year because we were having fun. We were talking with my mom. We were the three of us having a little wine and everything. And out of the blue, he just came up with the same old speech. And that speech is always about my health, my weight, what I should do with that. What am I going to do with that? He was always pointing at me, right? And out of the blue, that was like coming up in the conversation. But that time, last year, I was really pissed off. It really pissed me off. I was in my home and you are like just out of the blue shitting on me for no reason. And we weren't even talking about that, right? So I said, fine, I'm done with this. I'm going to bed. So the next morning we woke up and it was really cold. The feeling between us was cold, right? It wasn't as loving as before. I was really, really, really mad, and I just couldn't accept the irrespectful behavior he was having with me. I was 45. I'm in my home, and you can't talk to me like that, right? So that made a place for some couple of months that I wasn't talking to him, and I didn't want to have anything to do with him because I was just so mad. I was just so mad at him for doing that to me, for having that behavior to me, for having a bad behavior towards my mom, even if she doesn't think so. As I see it, I think he doesn't have a good behavior with my mom. I don't think he had a good behavior in his life. I don't think he was that good of a man, but that's my opinion. Seeing what on the outside, right? So I was judging him, so much judgment towards my father and my mom. And 2 weeks ago, it just came up to me that we are responsible no matter what. We are the only responsible person in our life for all that's happened. We are the only person responsible for what we live in our lives. So even if I pointed a finger at him, I had to do the introspection, and I had to take responsibility for my behavior. I didn't know better either, right? When I was a little girl, I didn't know either. I didn't know we could ask, Daddy, you know what? I want to go on with that dance class. Daddy, you know what? I want to go back to that ballet class. Or maybe I did, but I don't remember. And maybe he would say, no, 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 we're going skiing, so you're coming with us, right? So I think that this reflection, this this part of the relationship brought up some memories, and I started taking responsibility for it. And I started loving it, loving him more, loving me more, and accepting more that I didn't know any better. How could I have done differently? I didn't know any better. And him either. Him either. I'm a parent. I do what I think is the best I can do for my son, right? I don't do what's worst. I do what's best for him. So I know now that even if I do my best, it might not be the best for him. Even though now in 2019, I think we can be a more open-minded parent than our parents were. And I have a lot of talks with my son. I'm really implicated in his life. I know he's only 8. He will change. I will lose him at one point. But, and I was really like taking all that in and accepting and loving and honoring that, what I lived. And he came this weekend to see my son at his dance recital. And I make a lot of efforts, you know. I know I'm making efforts to love his presence, to love who he is and where he comes from. And we were sitting at the table and we were talking, and it was just stronger than him. He had to do a comment. He had to do a comment about my project with Divine Definition. He had to make a comment. And my mom stood up and said, don't you want to just be happy for her? Can't you just be happy and encourage her? And he can't. He wants to, but he can't. He cannot say those words. And that vulnerability is not given to everyone, to live that vulnerability in front of everybody. Even your own children, and even his wife. My dad being vulnerable would mean that he's soft, or it would mean that he's wrong, I think, in his mind. And I don't think he's ready or ever will be at 81 years old to accept to be vulnerable and open his heart. I know he loves me. I know all that he wants is just for me to be happy. And I know he's worried about the project and how am I going to live since I'm not working anymore as a waitress, right? I gave up my job to live my dream of Divine Definition. I don't know how come it's stopping right now. This is weird. Are you? Yeah, okay. So, yeah. So I'm just like trying to be a team and support the team, which is my family. So I decided to leave it just like that. But since I invited them on the 24th to come and have supper with me, my parents, my sister, her boyfriend, and my brother, I promised myself, though, that if you have no respect on how you talk to me in my own home, this time, my limits. And I won't be hard on him. I'll just explain to him, see, this is not good. Not in my home. Not in my home. You can have your opinion. That's fine. But respect me with that. Respect me, even though you have an opinion, even though you want to judge whatever. Just respect the fact that you can't say that to me in my own home. Even if it's my parents, right? I'm an adult. I'm 45 years old. They're 81. I'm allowed to put my limits out to them. So that was part of the journey that was going on in the last week with the full moon. I did sleep well though, but I had a lot of weird dreams. I dreamt that I was up the Eiffel Tower in Paris. I was really, really up there for real. And I could feel the wind, and my friend was with me and telling me, don't look down. I don't know where that dream came from and why. And the other dream was I escalating like an iceberg, sort of. And there were horses frozen in that iceberg, but they were still awake, but they were frozen like in the ice. And I was climbing, and after that I could see the sun, and it was hot. It was a really weird dream. That was a really weird week. And it's not stopping right now. And I just hope that I could help you guys maybe see something, since it's going to be Christmas next week. Just to take responsibility for yourself. Even though these people have a mindset, we need to respect that for them. It's their journey. They're not obligated to be where we are. We all have our own story. We all have our own way of living our lives, and we have to accept each and every one of them in their paths, right? So I think that's the hardest part for me, accepting the others, because for me, some people, it's like, why don't you see that? Don't you see what you can do? No. But it's not my life. I really need to accept the others like they are, and I need to accept myself the way I am. And I think that's part of the process. That's one of the hardest things for me. Accepting my sister as she is, accepting my brother as he is, accepting my sister's boyfriend as he is, accepting my parents as they are. And that's why I wanted to have them on the 24th. Acceptance. I want to work on my acceptance towards my family. Some people are going to maybe think, well, you don't have to. No, I don't have to. But last year I was alone on the 24th. and I was playing on being mad, you know. It's a long story, but some of the family were sick and there wasn't any party, right? Because some of the people were sick from the family, in the family. But my niece, she had her mother, which is my sister, over. Then her half brother came over with his girlfriend. Then her other half brother came in with his girlfriend. So everybody ended up at my niece's place on the 24th, but no one called me to tell me. I was mad. I was so mad. So sad. 24th of December, alone in my apartment. My new apartment. It was my first year. My son was with his father. I was alone. On the 24th of December 2018, I was alone in my apartment. And they were all having fun. And you know what? They never felt really bad about it. So I was mad for a while. I was mad for a while. But then again, it was my fault if I were mad. I could have just accepted it. But it hurt the little girl inside. Abandonment. I felt rejected. You see, my family loves to have a drink. They love to drink. Lots of alcohol. And even though I used to be the party girl, now, and even then, with my family, I was never interested in getting drunk with them. I would have a drink, but at midnight, 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to bed. But they stay up until like 7, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning, and they drink. And they have fun. But they don't remember anything the next day, right? So, what the hell? And they are party animals. And every year, it's the same thing. It always ends up the same. It always ends up in the party. I wake up early the next morning with the kids, so I have to make them breakfast. Everyone sleeps until noon. So you know what? It doesn't resonate with me anymore. But I still have fun with them sometimes. And they were chosen to be in my life movie, right? Ouch, sorry. They were chosen to be in my life story because they're part of my journey. And they're part of my knowledge. They're part of my path. They teach me. And I need to learn. I still have a lot to learn with them. So I'm not ready to give up on them just because they don't always resonate with who I am. I know how special I am. I know my worth. It is my responsibility to go in there with them, sit at a table, and be who I am, and not be crushed by what they say. Just be strong with who I am now. But if they don't respect me, I need to honor myself and say it. You're not respecting me right now. What you're saying, it's not respecting me. Families. They drink a lot, yeah. Maybe not as much since we all have kids. My son is 8, and my niece's son is 7. So even if we have a gap of 9 years apart, me and my niece, we had kids at the same time. So that's fun, right? No, our sons can play together. And I really love her little girl. She's really cool. She's 5 years old, and I have a lot of fun with her. She loves to put makeup on. So, I mean, it's a real 3D density family. And I think I can allow myself to go into that party and say, you know what? Tonight, I'm having a 3D fun party. And I'm going to just have a drink and be wild again for one night. Maybe have 2 drinks, because after 2, I'm already almost a little tipsy, right? And I don't like anymore being too tipsy with alcohol. So I try to control my consummation, I don't know the word in English. I control my intake, right? My alcohol intake, I control that so that I have fun. And I'm just a little tipsy, but that's cool. And I can have a laugh and I can have fun and go to bed early. So on the 24th, that's what we'll do. I will be cooking a turkey for the first time in my life. And because I don't like cooking. So they're really laughing right now because they're saying, "You're going to cook a turkey?" Yep. I'll try to cook a turkey. So, family challenges. Hope you have fun, and I will see you soon, and I hope that helped you. So don't forget, family are not responsible for what you lived as a child. It was your path. You had to go through that. You had to go through that path to be where you are now and learned what you learned. So you can teach your children. So you can teach your neighbor, your friends, yourselves. See you soon. Bye-bye.